You want to go for an Erdinger beer?
I'd rather Coors Light.
Oh, come on. Let's go eat a schnitzel as well.
No, a hamburger's good enough.
Now you're going to tell me that German Shepherds are not the best dogs.
American Pit Bulls, buddy.
What about Formula One?
NASCAR. All the way.
The next thing you know, you're going to tell me that you prefer a Lincoln Navigator over an X7. This is the all-new 2019 BMW X7, and what it is a 112,000 Canadian dollar bigger X5, but it has 6 seats as configured.
Now,
what do you have?
And I have a 2019 Lincoln Navigator EXT Reserve.
I have 335 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque with an 8-speed automatic transmission and, of course, xDrive.
I have 450 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. I have a 10-speed automatic transmission and a proper 4x4 mechanism.
Mechanism?
I don't know what the I was saying 4x4.
Mechanism for off-roading.
What the
Haunted house. Boo. So let's start with technology. Obviously, the X7 has more, but it's freaking haunted. I'm not even doing anything, and it's picking up gestures.
I don't get it. Did you kick it?
No. You know, the other day I was driving to soccer, and the whole dashboard just went blank. It did a reboot that took about 2 minutes to come back to life. Everything disconnected. I lost my GPS. Thankfully, I knew where I was going. Otherwise, imagine being downtown New York City, relying on your navigation to tell you when to turn, and then it goes blank, and then you take a wrong turn, and then 2 hours later, you're back on track.
True, but I do like how they integrated it. So I've got a Revel sound system in mine, and it sounds like the bomb.
The Harman Kardon in here sounds pretty good too.
I think the Revel sounds cleaner, but this is a lot more bassier.
I don't know, this sounds more natural. The Revel for me is a bit too loud and a bit harsh, but it's personal preference. I mean, they're both great. I have 1, 2, 3 sunroofs with a starry sky pattern. Apparently there are 15,000 little lights that look like, not the Milky Way, but it looks cool.
Makes me dizzy, but it's kind of cool at night.
It's very pimp.
I have 2.
Let's talk about interiors. This one is really well done. It doesn't get away from like the typical BMW fashion. It looks, almost identical to the X5. It's very well built. I like the materials. It's plush everywhere. Fit and finish is incredible. There's no piano black really, so nothing really to scuff and scratch. I like this open pore wood. It looks very upscale. And of course, this crystal stuff looks really cool as well. I mean, it doesn't look astonishingly wow, but it looks solid. I like it.
Yeah, it gives you the bit of the bling factor here, and I really like how this, and this
and
are
this.
all. That one, oh, I didn't notice that. That's actually kind of neat. But it's all crystally, blingy, nice. But you do have piano black right here.
A little bit.
Although I don't think you'll scuff that too much. But I also like the wood grain finish that how BMW does it now. It's very classy. It's very.
You're starting to copy Mercedes a little bit. I have to say, you said the word blingy really goes well with your truck. Why don't you tell us about your interior?
So the interior in the Lincoln is quite blingy. I love the chrome accents all throughout the cabin. It's actually outlining all the little utilities that you have in the adjustment sections of your car. So seats and the whole front dash and the way it's laid out. Everything's chrome accented. I love it. It just gives it that really luxurious feel to it. I feel like I'm in a bling car. I feel like I'm thugging it.
And all the materials are very plush in the Lincoln. Like even the back door cards, they're soft to the touch, which is good.
Everything's soft to the touch. All the materials up here, down here, and this is a floating console. It's not attached anywhere.
I know.
So
the one thing that puts me off a little bit in the Navigator is the wood. It just looks like those panels have been wrapped with some cheap looking wood.
Yeah, there's a corner there that you can kind of look at where it seems like it's just kind of
tacky if you really look carefully.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like they took a peel and stick and went
On the upside, if you get bored of it in a couple of years, you can just rewrap it with something else. Like carbon fiber, he could be one of those guys. So in the X7, the way this car is configured, you have 2 captain chairs in the middle row, and it fits 6 people quite comfortably, I have to say.
The Navigator also has 2 captain chairs in the back, and it has a bench in the rear, so I can fit 7 people.
So this is a 222, the Navigator is a 223?
Yes, and I have zone controls in the front for climate control and zone controls in the second row for climate control.
But I have a 5th zone in the far back, which
that's
you
don't
cool.
have.
have.
Yeah, I like that.
And these seats in the far back are also heated, which you don't have.
True.
The access to the 3rd row in the Navigator is much easier. There's a bigger opening to go to the back seats. And also the middle seat, if you have a baby seat on it, you can push the seat forward without changing the angle of the back to the bottom. So you can, push it forward without removing the car seat, which is pretty cool. The BMW is going to be a little bit more difficult. It does it. And what I don't like about the BMW is that the power back seats, they take forever to go forward so you can go behind them. They're like super slow.
Yeah, mine, you just kind of walk in, go to the back, you're in.
Yeah, but the captain chairs back here have the exact same of adjustability as the front seats.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so you don't feel, second class sitting in the back.
The Lincoln's all manual.
Everything same as the front, except massage. Obviously, you don't hear it's only driver and passenger. The Lincoln's the same, right?
Yep, that's right.
In the X7 though, I can have heated and ventilated seat on at the same time.
I can't. But what does that really give me, man?
It heats up the culo without making it smelly. It also ventilates it at the same time.
Doesn't that make your farts stinkier?
I don't know, but this has an ionizer, so it cleans up the air.
All right.
So does the Lincoln, no? This has fragrance though, so it will enrich the fart smell with some nice other aroma. Fart aroma. Roominess, the Lincoln is a much bigger car. It has more room.
It's wider too.
But you don't have as much headroom in the middle row as you have here.
I was surprised. I got into the middle seat. I sat back. My head hit the roof.
Yeah.
WTF?
Yeah. I do like though, because the Navigator is so much bigger from the inside, the space between the 2 captain chairs is significantly bigger, so you can actually access the 3rd row through those seats.
Yeah.
In this one, they say you can. I don't see anybody fitting through that gap. Not happening. Trunk-wise, obviously the Navigator again wins.
Well, it's the EXT, don't forget. So the regular Navigator, when you got all the seats up, you really don't get that much space in it. But the EXT has a ton of space.
But because price-wise they're so close, that's why we're comparing the X40i X7, pretty well equipped, which is 112,000 Canadian dollars. Whereas the Lincoln Navigator Reserve EXT, it's $108,000.
The only thing it's missing are the screens in the back.
This one is missing the exact same thing too.
Yeah. So how do you like driving in this thing?
You know what? The X7 has standard 2-axle air suspension.
What does that mean?
It means you can lower it or raise the ride height on demand through this little button here. Mm-hmm. It has dynamic adaptive dampers at the same time. So the adjustability is pretty wide on this. So if you put it in sport mode, it will lower itself by 20 millimeters. And it's not that fat. I mean, you think this is a big car up until the moment you park it right next to the Navigator or you drive it back to back. Then it actually feels like a very small car.
Yeah, you know what? Driving the Navigator is not a challenge, but it's just work.
This one definitely feels smaller, nimbler, and I like that in comfort mode, it actually gets very comfortable. It's plush, it soaks up everything, and then when you put it in sport, it firms up and it feels quite athletic. Obviously, it's not a sports car, but it's nice to drive. It's legitimately good to drive. In terms of performance, I have to say, this weighs 2.4 tons. Your Navigator weighs 2.7 tons.
Correct.
This has 335 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah,
your
mine's
Navigator
got 450
horsepower.
Thank you, and 510 pound-feet of torque.
Which one do you think is quicker to 100 kilometers an hour?
This feels quicker. and more nimble. So I have to say this one.
And you'd be right. Here's a little drag race. And the truth is that when you're driving them, this does feel nimbler. And I have to say, this B58 3-liter in this car, I'm actually really surprised how well it boogies. Like how it handles the weight of the X7. I'm really surprised.
Passing gear on this is actually pretty impressive. You'd think that the 3-liter turbo can't kick off on the highway, and it does really well.
Seriously, like it goes and it sounds great.
It sounds nasty.
It has the M exhaust, but it sounds great. I mean,
This has the whole M package.
it is the M Performance package on it, yeah. Which means it has bigger brakes. Speaking of brakes, this one feels crisper. The pedal feels better than the Navigator.
True.
You had a good
Yeah.
point about why the Navigator feels a bit mushy.
Well, it's more comfortable. It's a luxury SUV. And I think that's why they built it that way. Makes sense.
Whereas BMW has to be an ultimate driving machine, so there's nothing can be sluggish here, right?
Suits the mantra.
All right.
I agree.
What about your seats? You said you prefer the Navigator seats?
Okay, so this is firmer. Hands down, no question about it. I'm not saying they're uncomfortable, but these are quite comfortable. And this does support your body a little bit better. But in the Navigator, I like the give that the seats give you, so you kind of sink into it a little bit more. You feel a bit more comfortable. The seats are actually much more adjustable than this one is. You can actually adjust.
True. But they're so adjustable, I could never get my seat right in the Navigator. They're like, you have like 30 adjustments to do to it. 30. Come on,
30?
I need a week in that thing just to get the seat right.
All you need to do is spend 10 seconds and figure it out and you're done. The funny thing is, the seats in both cars are quite wide and they're quite comfortable.
Well, they're big cars, so they better be big and wide.
Yeah, so if you're a bigger person, you'll like both cars. Trucks.
Yep.
Sorry.
Both Bob and Rudiger will be very comfortable in here. Fuel economy.
Mine sucks gas. It sucks it big time.
So, I'm averaging about 13 liters per 100 kilometers in this X7, which I find completely reasonable for the size and weight. I actually find it good. Like, I'm surprised. I was expecting more.
Mine lied to me. There is no way. So I think I did about 200 plus kilometers, averaging 15.3 liters per 100 kilometers. It took $65 worth of gas, roughly.
In liters, that was like 40.
40
So,
liters.
If you do the math, it means you're about 20 liters per 100 kilometers.
No
not
kidding.
15. So
Something's lying.
the car or the pump is lying.
One of the two.
Yeah, either way though, it's not good.
No.
If you want to save money on gas, get the X7.
Yep.
So in comfort mode, the steering wheel in the X7 is lighter. In
It's
sport
not.
mode, it gets heavier.
I
The
disagree.
Navigator I find is heavier.
No, it's lighter than Navigator, but it's freaking slow as shit. You
It
gotta
is.
sit there and go.
It feels like it's a bus.
I feel like you're steering a ship.
Yeah. That's funny because when my wife drove the Navigator, she said that it feels like she's commanding a ship.
You are.
So
The
yeah.
size of that thing?
See, the problem I find with a Navigator is that obviously bigger is better,
True.
but after a certain threshold, it just becomes too big.
Well,
And I think that's what the Navigator is for me. It's just too big.
yeah, but if you've got a big family and you're
Obviously,
just more of you and you want to go on trips, and if you do a lot of trips, the Navigator is the one you want to take.
if space is the outright requirement, there's no doubt the Navigator is the way to go.
Don't get me wrong, the X5 could do it too. You're going to be a little tighter, but you're not going to have the trunk space.
But the X5, the optional third row is like emergency. I have a 6th and a 7th passenger. It doesn't really fit as
Right.
well as here.
Right. No, this fits you much, much better, much more comfortably.
If you need 7 seats, this is the way to go, not the X5. So behind the third row of seats, the Navigator has 971 liters, whereas the X7 has only 300.
Did you notice my chrome?
A lot of chrome in here. Seems like when the sun shines, you won't be able to see anything in here from the reflections. It's
I'll
gonna
see
be.
everything, and it'll be just fine.
I do like it though, and I like that everything has this plush cover to it. Everything feels nice and soft.
They went everywhere, even down here.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Even the back door cards are nice and soft.
Yep. So, but one thing I don't like about the X7 is it's not bright, and maybe it's just the black on black.
German dark thing. Yeah.
I don't get it. That's what I don't like about it. Whereas here, I guess it's the color combination, but it just seems that much brighter in here.
But it does feel like a big old bus.
But it doesn't drive like a bus.
It does.
It handles itself very well.
For a bus.
For a bus. Now, as you can tell, we're taking corners, and it is not... So,
at 23 kilometers an hour.
but still, it's not leaning like a bus. Okay, watch. If I speed it up a bit, right? Are we going around the turn?
Let's wait a bit until you speed it up. Yeah, okay, keep going.
So,
Okay, let's go around the turn.
then we go around. Look,
Oh,
it took that turn, no problem.
Yeah, well,
It handles.
would you expect it to flip over, like be an unsafe car? It's
No,
not
but it's not a freaking bus. It doesn't handle like a bus. It drives great. And feel how comfortable it is. All the bumps in the road, it just sucks it all up.
Yeah, the ride is nice and it's adaptive. So
It's awesome.
I'm gonna put it in Excite for a second. See how much it firms up.
Excite.
I'm not excited yet.
I wasn't
It
excited.
does have an engine, which sounds like
Oh, it sounds dirty.
dirty. It sounds bleh. Massage? Let's see. Oh, not there. Off.
You pushed the Jason button
But why didn't it just give me a shocker? What kind of a massage is this?
because it's a Jason button.
It's like freaking. No thanks.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, I know you like it. Yeah, go ahead. It even tells you I'm gonna shove it up your.
listen, that's part of the
What's
adjustment.
wrong with you, Lincoln? Come on.
So, it's probably one of the best heads-up displays I've ever used. It's got all the information in front of you. It's got the distance control, lane keep assist information, gas consumption information. Or
But
sorry,
is it nice and crisp like the X7?
perfect?
Yeah, I actually like the heads-up display more in the Lincoln.
I like
it's better.
crispers. I'm getting hungry now.
The technology in here is more usable and it's not glitchy. Like
So-
over the past week, I didn't notice a single hiccup with technology in this car. Like nothing.
Yeah, the X7 is.
It
Buggy.
desperately needs an update. Like that thing feels it's
Buggy.
not finished.
It doesn't work. It kept
Whoever does
cutting us
quality
off.
assurance in BMW, you're fired.
I would take the car out of R and put it under P.
So, if you notice the display on the infotainment system, it's got big buttons and it's clear. Do you want to know why that is?
Because this is for older people.
Correct.
Is that a trailer thing? Can you tow something in here?
You can. About 8,100 pounds.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a lot.
It's great. Let me put it to you this way. If I had both cars in my driveway and I had to pick one to drive to do groceries and go out every day, I'd probably pick the X7 because it's not so big and it's a little bit more work to drive this one every day than the X7. So I'd give the X7 that. But
What if you have to drive across the country?
well, I was about to say that if you hadn't cut me off.
Go ahead.
So, but if I had to go on a trip and move my family around and still want to have some space in the trunk to put some luggage or extra gear in the back, this one.
Yeah, but then every other day you'd have to still live with this one if you had it for a long trip.
If this was my only truck, yeah. But I'd have to be a guy who likes big trucks. And in my preference, I'm not a big truck kind of guy.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 8.5 out of 10, just because
But the fuel consumption.
it's a big thing, man. It's reasonable.
That's why I said 8.5 initially, but I'm bringing it down to an 8 just because of that. This is going to kill my pocket.
Yeah, but you have to think where this naturally fits. So this naturally competes against like the Escalade, and those trucks have a big V8 engine in it, and they're not any better on gas. So, you know, between this and the X7, yes, the X7 is better on gas, but it's also much smaller and lighter. So
Yeah, okay. That might
I don't know.
actually
I
convince me to
can't
bring
really
it to an
blame
8.5.
this for consuming what it does.
It's, you know what? Actually, it's probably better than the other ones if you think of it that way. Then.
Oh, it hands down beats the current Escalade, Tahoe, and Yukon.
Mm-hmm.
This one is the full-size truck to buy right now, for sure. Like it does everything perfectly, and I really like that it still has the proper 4x4 drivetrain with the low-range transfer box. I just don't like that you operate all that through the driving modes. I'd like an actual button that says 4 low. Let's do it. Like, it's not very straightforward. There is a little indicator on the side there, the left part of the instrument cluster, but like 4A for automatic, 4 high for 4 low, 2 high. I have to say, I really like the X7. When I saw pictures of it initially, I thought, oh, that looks like a Lincoln, like the way they kind of made it boxy. But then when I saw it next to a Lincoln, I'm like, no, that looks like a BMW. The one thing I don't like about it at all is the glitchy software.
That's a big negativo.
But I'm very confident that there's going to be an update in the future that's going to fix all of it. I don't think the hardware is the thing that's gone wrong, because that hardware has been used in like the 7 Series and other cars that work well. So I don't think it's a hardware thing. I think it's a software thing. For that reason, I will give it an 8.5, but I do want to give it a 9. I'm just going to hold off until I actually drive one that's been properly set up. The winner for this comparison, for my money, is the X7, just because I don't go on long trips 365 days a year, but I do drive my car 365 days a year. So for that odd weekend that I need the more space, I'm going to rent a Navigator.
Yep.
But I'm going to buy an X7.
And I think I'd have to agree with you. I think the X7's the winner here. From the overall day-to-day driving and all that fun stuff. You know what? I have to admit, as much as I love the Navigator, I still love the X7, and I think that's probably the winner in this case.
And on that bombshell, it's time to subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends. And until next time, be well.
See you later, alligator. That was... no.
You're probably all wondering, why are these grills so huge? Well, they're not. Because when you look at this, that's a hell of a lot bigger. So, that ain't so big no more.
Erdinga,
Coors Light.
German Shepherd,
American Pitbull.
Formula 1, Michael Schumacher. Look, there's a ghost in this. Glitches. Glitches. Shut it. There's a ghost operating.
There's a
fucking thing.
ghost in the X7
Okay.
with bugs up your ass.